Hey, what's going on? I'm David Hawes. Thanks for taking the time to come and watch the video. Today's video, we're going to talk about journaling, and I'm going to give you some cues for journaling. I think journaling is probably one of the greatest exercises that you can do to dramatically transform your life. Something happens, I don't know what it is, when you put pen to paper. We take the thoughts that have been swirling around in our head. This is why we're overthinking, we're overwhelmed, because we never take the time to actually reflect. And you can reflect by thinking, but it's kind of creating more of the problem that you don't want. So a great way to reflect, to get those thoughts out of your mind, is to put them onto a piece of paper. And in today's video podcast, essentially what I'm going to do is give you 5 journaling tips that were really transformational for me, and you can begin putting them to use like right away. I mean, first thing tomorrow, you can go on a 5-day challenge and do all 5 of these journaling cues. I think they'll be completely transformational for you, and you can do them in about 5 minutes a day. So the first one is, what would you do if you had $10 million? This is a lesson that I use for so many of my clients. It's basically after all your material needs have been met, right? After you've traveled the world, after you bought the Lamborghini, after you've lived in the mansion, and maybe you have to increase it. Maybe your dreams are bigger than $10 million. Maybe it's $100 million. But if you've got $100 million in the bank, it's like, what are you going to do after you've done everything that you can absolutely desire, after you've traveled the world or whatever, you finally settle on a place and you're sitting there in this gigantic mansion, you got a Lamborghini in the driveway, and the question is, now what? And this is an exercise that will help you get connected to what it is you're really supposed to do in this world, what it is you're really supposed to, what is your definite purpose? How can you maximize your potential? I'm not going to give away the answer to this of what you should come to. You can personal message me or direct message me, and if you're struggling with this exercise, I'll help walk you through it. But this is just a really great exercise to get an idea of what it is you really want out of life. And then from Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Workweek, I'm reading his book, Tools of Titans right now. It's absolutely gold. What he says is to come up with this thing called a TMI, which is your total monthly income. This is actually a bonus journaling exercise, so this is going to be the 6th one. To figure out everything you want out of life, and then figure out how much that's going to cost you on a monthly basis. So if you want a Lamborghini, then figure out how much a Lamborghini costs and how you can finance that Lamborghini. And once you do this, you'll start to realize that the amount of money that you need to earn to live the life that you dreamed of most might not be that much. You might be able to live the life of your dreams, which is in the nice house and the nice car and the boat and vacations, for way less than you actually thought that you needed to save. A lot of us get in this mindset that you need to have the money in the bank to do the things or have the things that you want to do. But you can finance a lot of these things as long as you have the monthly income to support it. So what is your total monthly income required to live your best life? So these are two journaling exercises that kind of combine into one if you wanted to. What would you do if you had $10 million, and how can you finance that lifestyle, essentially? The next question I think that is really, really important that everyone should be asking is, what would you do if you couldn't fail? A huge emotion that holds most of us back is fear. We have fear of judgment, fear of failing, fear of looking like an idiot. I guess that is also fear of judgment, right? But just basically, we have so much influence from our friends and our family and society, and we believe that this is the way we need to do things. And sometimes maybe throughout the course of our life, we had tried something different or put ourselves out there, and we experienced shame and embarrassment from the failure that happened. Maybe you failed a test. Maybe you missed the penalty kick in soccer, and you felt that shame. Immediately from experiencing that shame, your ego went to work to make sure you never felt that shame ever again. And the way that it did that was keeping you playing small, keeping you playing safe. And if you lean into this question of, well, what would I do if I couldn't fail? This will be another indicator of what it is you're supposed to do in this world. What is your definite purpose? What would you do if there was no fear of failure? How big would you go? How small would you go? How big would your impact be? Whatever it may be, but it's a great question to ask. And the way I would just do this is, in a journaling session, I would just write it out. I would allow my thoughts to flow from my brain onto the pen and the paper, and just don't have any structure. Just write it out. So, if I couldn't fail, I would sail around the world. Meaning, you don't have to worry about money. You couldn't fail. I'd sail around the world. Okay, and then, well, maybe what else would I do if I couldn't fail? And for me, ultimately, mine would be to cure people of disease, essentially. if I knew that I could cure people of cancer and I wouldn't fail, then that would be where I would go. So, think as big as you possibly can. But it's interesting that I've kind of been led in that direction to help people heal continuously because that's an intention of mine. So great exercise. What would you do if you couldn't fail? The third, I should say, journaling cue that I love, and I got this again from Tim Ferriss, which is just so great, is most of us are constantly seeking to add to solve our problems. We need to add more money. We need to add more freedom. We need to add more family time. But what would you do if you had to solve your problem by subtracting? What would you have to subtract from your life to try and solve the problems that you're facing now? Okay, so if you're looking for, more free time's not really the greatest one to do, but it's like let's say you're looking for more money. What could you subtract out of your life to increase your income, right? So like one thing that comes to mind is like television. If you subtracted television from your life, you would have more free time. You could subtract staying up till 1 a.m, right? Getting up earlier would be something you would add, but by subtracting going to bed at 1 and going to bed at 9 instead, then you would eventually get up earlier, which would give you more time and to be more productive. You could subtract a bad diet. So I think you kind of get the idea. It's like, what could you subtract to resolve any problem that you're currently facing? It's just another way of looking at things, right? Instead of looking to add to solve problems, we're looking to subtract. And this is actually the process of letting go as well. In letting go, we don't seek to add anything out there to resolve our problems. We look to go within. What is it that we need to let go of? What emotions are we still holding on to that are holding us back? And when we bring awareness to those, we can begin to feel those emotions so that we become free of them. Once you subtract those emotions, you no longer need any of the survival patterns, behaviors, thoughts, and belief systems that are keeping you playing small. So this is a really great exercise. What would you subtract to solve your problems? The next one is one of my classics. I love this exercise. I do it at all my events, all my retreats. It's in my online course. So you're getting a little sneak peek of it here, is make a list of how fucked up you are. And I know the language is harsh, but it's meant that way to make this really stick. Is take a moment to, and this usually takes a little bit longer than 5 minutes, you're probably 10 or 15 minutes, and just write out everything that you ever did wrong in your entire life. And then write out everything that was ever done wrong to you in your entire life. And just by bringing awareness to this, we can begin to see the belief systems that we created after experiencing negative instances in our lives. We can begin to bring awareness to how the emotions that we felt from these negative moments have influenced our life today. And then we can begin to see that these survival patterns that are allowing us to avoid feeling these emotions, these are what is really keeping us playing small. In order to break free from this, the first thing we need to do is create awareness. You can't solve a problem if you don't have the awareness of the problem. And this exercise is designed to bring awareness to what your problems really are. So I really highly suggest doing this one. And then another tactic you can use from this is after you have this gigantic list, and if you don't know how to begin letting it go, one thing you could do is pick one easy one on that list and share it with somebody that you know and trust. You could also share it with a therapist or a coach. And this is the beginning stages of the letting go process. This is something that I do at my live events. Is we make this list and then I say, hey, if you're ready to let this go, pick something on the list and share it with the entire group. And it's the first step. And this is kind of like the basis of AA is, we bring our shadow into the light. And once it's in the light, it kind of no longer exists because that awareness alone begins the letting go process. So that is like a critical one, a great one. If there's not one that you do on this list, this would be the one that I would do. And then the next journaling cue that I think is super important is like, where are you stuck in your life? Just take a review. Is it your relationship? Is it your finances? Is it your career? Is it your spiritual growth? Is it your anxiety or whatever it may be? Where are those places in your life that you're stuck? And then the second part of this journaling exercise is to bring awareness to what story you have told yourself about being stuck. Okay, so this actually just happened to me. I was on a call with a friend of mine. He's another coach, and him and I kind of just snowball ideas off each other. And I was talking about where I was stuck with regards to getting new leads to fill my letting go school. And I was making all these excuses. And I'm like, this is where I'm stuck, is with getting new leads. And I could start hearing the stories I was telling myself, is that I need to hire an advertising agency. I need to do this. I need to do this. And there's like all these beliefs that I had created that I don't have the tools that are necessary to fill my letting go school. So once we start bringing awareness, again, I know I keep saying the word awareness, but this is why it's so important. So you got to become aware of where you're stuck in your life. And just by creating that awareness, and then creating awareness around what stories you've been telling yourself about why you're stuck, you begin to become free. And that is why awareness is so critical. With awareness alone, you've already kind of started the ball rolling to letting go and finally being free, or finally becoming unstuck. So these are my 5 journaling cues. I highly recommend that you do them. I've also created a PDF that has these 5 journaling cues and other ones as well that you can go to my website and download. It's davidhaas.ca. So go check that out, and you can download it 100% free on my website. Thanks for taking the time to listen. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button, and we'll see you again next Wednesday.